Welcome to Two Taps and Friends. Grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive into another episode of Two Taps and Friends.
Welcome back, everyone, to Two Taps and Friends. I'm Daniel Rosenberg, the host of the show. Today, glad to be back, and today I have a very special guest. I have All-American, former Ohio State face-off guy, now face-off coach, esteemed college athlete, esteemed now in the pros athlete, Tommy Burke.
Awesome.
Welcome,
Very nice
Tommy.
to meet you. Thank you. I'm fired up to be on Two Taps. I've been circled this on my calendar for weeks.
That's awesome. I'm glad to have you, man. It's always exciting to have you. Tommy is now coaching, and he's now, have you joined the PLL at this point?
Yeah, so I played in the NLL over winter break. I'm still hopefully trying to play in the PLL a little bit. I work for a financial planning agency as well. I got my master's in finance, so
Right.
There's a lot going on, but I'm grateful for it all and just trying to stack with it.
Awesome. So, yeah, he's a professional lacrosse player, and he's in financial planning as well. He's got a lot going on. Tommy is a very, very motivated guy. This is why I brought him on here. But first off, before we get into that, give us some background. Give us some of your history in the high school and college and how you got to where you are today, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a three-time All-American face-off guy. I was a senior in high school the year COVID happened in 2020. In the fall of 2019, the University of Vermont reached out and were like, look, we think you could play for us right now. We want you to graduate early. We'll give you a full ride to do it. It was kind of a no-brainer. So I graduated high school in December of my senior year. I enrolled at the University of Vermont January of my senior spring of high school, what would have been my senior spring of high school. I was on campus for 10 days. We scrimmaged Maryland. So like crazy, like 17.
Wow.
Like started against Maryland, like wild. I played okay. Like I played, but I didn't play to a standard that necessarily I wanted to play to. But I got the eligibility back. At the time, I was like, wow, like this really sucks. Like I'm losing this eligibility. I left high school. I left all my friends, but it ended up being just like a huge blessing being able to basically gain that game experience while kind of having a free pass of eligibility.
Yeah.
And I graduated in 3.5 from Vermont, really 3 because classes I took when I went to graduate early, did nothing for my degree. It's like intro to breathing. And then I got a master's at Ohio State in finance the following year. And I'm 23 years old now, and I'm, just kind of working two very, very fun businesses that I love a lot.
Awesome. So now, just for the layman, the people don't understand eligibility, can you explain the eligibility a little bit for the viewers so they understand what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NCAA gives you 4 years of eligibility. You have a 5th-year option necessarily if you get hurt or if something goes wrong, you can get extra years back.
Right.
But typically, right, you're given a 4-year window. But with COVID, right, everybody who was playing in that spring, since the season got canceled, everybody got an extra year that they were able to play.
Wow.
So for me, right, I ended up doing what I would have done anyway had I not graduated early, which was like 2021 through 2024.
Right.
But I graduated early and essentially I got a free run at it for a few weeks, which helped me in a ton of ways. I think that was probably one of the most impactful decisions I've made in my lacrosse career for a number of reasons.
Right. And you ended up playing for your last eligibility. You ended up transferring to Ohio State. Well, you didn't. You did your master's at Ohio State, and you played there, right?
So I got my master's at Ohio State.
Go Buckeyes.
Go Bucks. OH. I was at the University of Vermont, and I kind of realized, I was like, look, I have an opportunity here to leverage lacrosse to really advance myself academically. I had no student debt from my undergrad, and, it's a 3-time All-American. Not to be braggadocious at all, because that's not what I want to, approach this from.
Yeah, but you could brag. Everybody knows that about you. That's a big thing. You're a big name.
But I did kind of understand, look, I have an opportunity here to leverage something to advance myself and put myself in a position where, I'm going to be really happy with the decisions I made. I looked at Vermont, and I loved it. Great experience, great school. Probably the best decision I've ever made. But I look at that, right, and I was like, the master's programs are kind of limited. I really want to be able to leverage lacrosse to get a free master's. And I'm looking at it here, and I'm like, how do I graduate in 3.5 years? Because that half year did nothing for me. But it turns out I had 6 credits from high school AP Spanish. My mom's a Spanish teacher. And totally out of the blue was able to basically apply these to my degree audit, Hail Mary. And those 6 credits are what pushed me through. I literally would not have been able to graduate early without them. And so from there, it was history. I was like, look, like I want to be able to advance myself and utilize this as something that allows me to just get more educated. And so I entered the portal, talked to a few schools, and the rest is history.
Right. I think that lacrosse is such an interesting sport because it's growing so fast right now in popularity,
Absolutely.
right? But it's not at the point where you're seeing these like huge contracts, like professional lacrosse players. You know, they make a very modest salary. They all mostly have other jobs, right? So it's interesting to see the college athlete, really the college experience is, yes, I'm playing the highest level sport or the highest level of this sport in the world in lacrosse in the United States if you're playing Division I, likely, right? But I also have to keep in mind my future. I also have to figure
And I have a real job.
And I have a real job, right? I think that that's so interesting. Whereas, like, you see, you see football players and basketball players where they're like they get to kind of like focus just on their craft. Where I think the lacrosse it's so different because you have to focus on your craft, you have to focus on your future, and it's growing in popularity. And like, if you grew up north, most people know lacrosse. A lot of people don't know lacrosse. Now they're starting to see it, I remember when I first started, when Jacob started playing, like I didn't know lacrosse. I had no idea. I played basketball in my life, and like you get addicted to the sport once you get to know it, right?
Yeah.
It's literally probably I think it's one of the best sports there is, right? But that came from experience. And I think it's so interesting to see now, like, I mean, I'm hoping that it starts to get to a point now there's NIL money and all this kind of stuff that college athletes are getting, but you don't have that. And you played literally at the highest level of the game. Like, you're saying All-American Ohio State, but people don't understand that. Like, that's not even 1% of players get to that level, right? Like, if you can make a Division I lacrosse scholarship, you differentiate yourself, and then to be and to thrive at that level is so interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple things on that, right? Like, one, I think lacrosse is one of those games where there's just so much passion behind it that I think guys are so willing to just give everything to it, not for a transactional piece, but just like unconditional love for it.
Right.
I know for me, certainly, like in high school, I was like, wow, like I just love this idea of something being so black and white, but also so nuanced.
Right.
Especially face-offs, right? Like you look at that and you're like, okay, this is like a jump ball. Like this should be a 50-50 every time.
Right.
But the reality is like, there's so much nuance where if you know what you're doing, like 100 out of 100 times versus the right person, like you'll win. It's an inch. It's like an inch of space between two sticks.
For layman's people don't understand the face-off position, you might want to research a little bit, but just to give a quick breakdown, the game starts with two individuals that line up next to each other, sort of like a hockey face-off where they drop the puck, but they put the ball in between, and at the whistle, these guys go. They have to bring their sticks over, get out, get the ball moving, and immediately start a fast break or get possession of the ball. That's how you get possession. So it's essentially the most important position you can have in lacrosse. People would argue the goalie, but I would argue the face-off position because you're getting possession for your team. The people that take the face-offs are very unique individuals usually because they are hyper-focused on one thing usually, right? And they have insane hand speed and they have instincts that like you can't, some of the practices you guys do for face-off and grabbing the balls out of the air, like it's such a unique position and it's a specialty position. And I think it's one of the highest, I was just saying this before we went on air, like my son plays face-off, and my son is coached by Tommy, right? And I feel bad for this kid during the games. I feel bad for you guys because like, a goal gets scored in lacrosse and everybody's happy, but then the next focus is right on that face-off, right? Like, and it can, if the other team scores a goal, they can kill the momentum by grabbing the ball again, or if the team scores a goal, they can keep it going. Like, there's just so much there, and you're lining up and you're waiting on this ref to blow a whistle, and that's subjective. A ref could hold the whistle too long. He could walk around. He could touch the people. Like, I think it's the craziest position, and to excel at that is super impressive. And watching you now coach, like we're going to transition to you coaching. I want to talk about that a little bit. Like how you seem to be enjoying the coaching world.
I love it. I
right?
mean, look, I think a lot of it, right, is being articulate and being articulate in a skill set that requires articulation, right?
Right.
I look at some of these really, really elite attackmen and really, really elite midfielders, and I'm sure there's a ton of benefit to their coaching, but on some level, right, it's tougher to teach something that is really driven by athleticism.
Right.
It's tougher to be like, hey, like be 6'4" and have great hands.
Exactly.
Like facing off is golf. It's literally golf. It's a
Right.
swing.
Right.
It's mechanical efficiency. If me and you both had to race to the same target, but I had a more efficient path to that target, I'll probably win 99 out of 100 times.
Right.
Right? And so I look at facing off and I look at the impact I can have through coaching and being articulate with it. My mom's a teacher. I grew up, just really, really infatuated with the concept of being able to, break down knowledge and help others with it. I think it's a gift to be able to give to others. And it's a blast. I mean, it's great. I love being able to see these kids develop. I love being able to essentially use my lived experience to save these kids from kind of the pitfalls that I went through.
Right. And I think that brings it to an interesting spot. We talked about this before going on air. So the issue with the thing with sports is sports can be cruel in some sense, right? There's physical requirements in lacrosse that, like, when I would coach kids in lacrosse. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was coaching 7-year-olds, right? But I could spot athletes very quickly, right? And I'd coach baseball. I could spot a kid and say that kid is going to play baseball for a long time, right? In soccer, there would be a kid we named Messi or Ronaldo. Every year, it'd be some new kid that you just give the kid the ball, he would go and score 4 goals. Like, it was just natural. So I think that there's the physical things that I'm sure for you are easy to identify, right? I mean, especially playing at the level that you play, right?
100%.
But I think that, especially in this position, I want to talk about, like, okay, now you have a kid that you see physically is there.
Yeah.
What have you found? And I know what your answer is going to be because I hear you put out a lot of. If you're know, follow Tommy Burke on social media. It's a great social media page. You put a lot of great content talking about mindset.
Yeah.
Right. Mindset, I think, from my life, mindset has been everything and everything, if you ask me. I think that's the one, like, they say there's the code of the world, the code of life code, right, is mindset,
100%.
right? But I've never seen it, and that's why I love sports so much, because in sports, that transcends better than, and you feel momentums of teams. I know when a team can make a comeback just by looking at body language, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can too, right?
100%.
And I think that in your position even more is like a microcosm of that, So talk to me about mindset and when you're coaching these kids, like, what are you looking for and what are you trying to do with mindset with them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say what I'm looking for really is people that are super, super process oriented, right? I think oftentimes, people get discouraged, people find themselves kind of falling out of love with the position because other people are making them feel poorly about themselves.
Right.
The kids who really make it at a high level are almost always the kids who are just obsessed with improvement and aren't deterred by anything. I mean, look, I was the nail for so long until I was the hammer, and as soon as I started to become the hammer, I became the hammer very quickly. That is kind of how it works in terms of growth, right? It's being vulnerable. Kids who are willing to be vulnerable day after day after day, because a lot of kids aren't. A lot of kids come out and maybe they get discouraged or they have a bad day or they have a bad week and they don't realize that, this is the process of years. I have permanent calluses on both hands that will never go away in the sense of, like, can you do it every single day and can you do it with full submission to the process, knowing that one day is no different than the other.
Right.
Oftentimes, like, athletes will look at the staircase and they'll be like, okay, well, that's 10,000 steps. Like, there's no way I'm climbing that.
Right.
But the reality is, like, no step in that 10,000 step staircase is any different than the last.
Right.
It's really just an accumulation of doing it over time and over time. And, those who love to do it almost always are the ones who become better. And those who love to do it are almost always the ones who are just super process oriented. When you live based on outcomes, when you live based on externalities, you're setting yourself up for failure for 2 reasons, right? One, you have to deal with this idea that when other people are talking really highly about you, you really don't hold yourself accountable. Well, they all think I'm good. They all think I'm real. Like, why should I,
Right.
keep doing
I already have the name.
I already have the
everything.
name. Everybody thinks I'm really good. And when people talk really poorly about you, you believe it too.
Right.
It's like, I suck. I'm not as good as, The only thing really that you can control is the internalities. And the internalities are deeply driven by, like, a present love of what you're doing.
Right.
All the outcome stuff is fear-based. All of the things that are, how do people view me? It's fear-based. Like, the best players, the best athletes, it's almost always like a keen love for the game, a pure love for the game.
Or the specific skill. Right?
Yeah.
Not even if sometimes it's not even the game. It's
The face-off.
the face-off,
Yeah.
right? Like, especially with face-off guys, you see that they just, like I'm using my kid as an example. Obviously, I'm very proud of my kid, like most people should be of their kid, no matter what, whether or not they're good or not. But I watched this kid when we go against. He got in a position with the team where he had a good, really good face-off guy ahead of him who was older, and I watched him lose every face-off. In practice for like a year, and I remember thinking to myself, man, this kid's got some gusto that he's still coming in here and taking
shows up
over, and then slowly he used to win a couple, and then slowly, he starts getting to the level with this kid, and it's like that with everything in life. I tell people that because I started my own business, I started this. I do all these projects, and sometimes they succeed. A lot of times they succeed. Depends on whether they succeed. Depends on whether I love what I'm doing, just like you said, and whether I'm invested in the process, right? Just like you say, like people were like, you're gonna eat shit so much, right? Like the steps, it's all baby steps. Like I hear people that want to start businesses and they tell me like, well, I want to do this. They find every problem that's going to come along the way. They already predetermine what the problems are going to be. And I try to tell them, listen, every step is going to have a problem. Every step's going to have a setback, but you just got to go one at a time. And you got to love it enough to stay motivated to go one at a time. So, I mean, and I see you're tapped in right now, is what I say. It's tapped in. When you're into that flow and you understand that, then, you're putting out good stuff. You're putting out the right stuff, and I think that, like, that would lend itself to more people that want to be coached by you.
100%.
You know what I mean? But, like, and going against Tommy, I watch these kids. You're killing these kids. You're not holding back on these kids, right? Like, if they get one on you, you're getting 10 on them, and, but, like, I think that's very important, and I think it's important. I think it's great, and what are your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, I love coaching. I love being able to compete with these kids. I think the coolest thing about it as well, right, is like being able to lead by example. I think oftentimes like we calibrate our level of effort based on the situation we're in, right? Playing somebody who's worse than me, like I'm just gonna half-ass this. Like, what does it matter? Like, it's not about them. And I say this to be like, look, like when you're training, when you're trying to improve in something, it doesn't matter what the externals are as far as like where you're training, who you're training with. You shouldn't change. Like it shouldn't change if you're going against somebody elite or somebody bad. Like you putting this level of importance on others is like deeply ego driven.
Right.
The reality is like, if you want to be egoless, it's not about like stopping yourself. Like, like it's okay to be like, I've got big muscles, like I'm good at lacrosse. Like, that's not being egoless. Being egoless is basically being like, I kind of don't care what other people think or say, and I'm going to continue to just work towards my dreams.
Right.
Think about it. Like a farmer who is destined to be a farmer is going to have infinitely more societal impact being a farmer than a farmer who's forced to be a banker because he is judged for being a farmer.
Agreed.
You're going to be a better person. You're going to be better to other people. You're going to live your dream fully. And that's the reality of it. I mean, look, like so often with these kids and how they train, it's deeply driven by what other people think of them. But if you want to become truly elite, it's entering this mindset of like, I don't care what other people think about me. I don't care if other people approve or disapprove of how hard I'm working or what I'm doing, because the reality is nobody is gonna like you all the time.
Right.
People are gonna dislike you. Like whether you do what you think is the right thing or the wrong thing, people are still gonna dislike you. It's a facet of life. Can you do what you think is right internally and eat the fact that you're like, maybe other people won't agree with it or like it?
Right, right. And now speak a little bit about like, if you could give a roadmap to like progression, right? For progression. Let's just say, okay, what did you find in your life experience or coaching now? What differentiated the kid playing rec ball to the kid that was successful at travel ball? What differentiated the kid that played travel ball to the kid that playing elite high school ball and is playing on elite top 10 teams? What was the X factor? Would you say it's all the same, or is it different at different levels? Like, what does it take to be from here to here, and then what do you think it takes from you once you get to Division I?
Yeah.
What does it take to? What did you find it took to differentiate yourself, make yourself an All-American. And I think if you could kind of speak
Yeah,
to that
for sure.
progression-wise, you know.
I mean, look,
you're
for-
coaching right now.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the age groups these kids are?
I got like 9 to 19.
Yeah, dude, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I see, and listen, you're with Sweetlax, and I have allegiance to Sweetlax. I think they're the best organization in the country.
Shout out Kmart, dude,
That-
if
they-
he's watching.
honestly, I think they're the best organization in the country as far as recruiting and the level. But you got the kids, so
Yeah.
speak to me about the roadmap of what you're seeing. And I think that you're probably seeing the best 9-year-olds out there
Yeah.
for Sweetlax.
Yeah,
but, like,
no.
tell me that a little bit.
I mean, look, I think the biggest piece, right, with evolution in this game is one, the levels to this game are infinitely more important than the numbers. You look at guys who are 40% fringe starting D1 faceoff guys who transfer to D2 and who are 80% All-Americans. You know, the higher up you go in this game, you're playing better guys. Think about it like this. You're going to go to a Division I school. You're going to have to beat out 5 other guys to be the guy that faces off for your school.
Right.
5 other guys who were highly recruited Division I faceoff guys, by
Sure.
the way. And then you have to beat out the guy who beat out 5 guys from his school. And then in order to keep playing, you have to go about 55 plus against this guy frequently.
55% is
Right.
for the layman.
So, you know, there's levels and levels and levels, and I would say the best face-off guys I've seen and the kind of the hack to getting to those levels is just remaining extremely process-oriented and remaining process-oriented in a way where you're challenging yourself adequately, right? 10 push-ups when you first start doing push-ups is hard, but when you've done it for a month, right? It's about consistently pushing the threshold of your capabilities. Finding kind of that sweet spot of like, where am I really challenged and pushing through it every day. You know, the kids who oftentimes make it, the kids who especially make it at very high levels, I would say it's an obsession with making every day count. People think about the now, right? And they think like, all I have is now. Well, like, I should just eat like shit and like smoke this or drink
Right.
that and like, who cares? It's only now. But the reality is, like, you're living the decisions you made 90 days, 90 weeks, 90 months. Like,
Right.
right now is the only time you have to change the timeline for future you. I remember distinctly being in 8th grade being like, wait, if I just do this, like, every single day for 2 hours, like, completely committed to it, like, there's no way I lose. I was like, I don't care what any, like, and don't get it twisted. Like, I got bullied, dude. you want to be the best, like, ground puncher? Like, it's like, but whatever. I was like, if I just do this every single day for 2 hours, it's impossible. It's impossible for me to lose. But to that point, right, what I also did was I elevated my level of challenge within my training time. I stayed consistent training, but as I trained, I made sure to progress in how hard I was pushing myself because I gave myself the ability to get exponentially better. That's the biggest thing, right? People look at, like, let's say like lifting, right? And this applies to everything. This is training, lifting,
Sure.
running, anything in trying to improve, right? But people look at recovery from this perspective of like, if you recover better, you know, you'll put on more muscle. That's great. But the way I always viewed it is like, if you recover better, you can go even harder the next day,
Right.
right? Like, that's what it is. It's like you push yourself harder, then you'll have the capability to push yourself even harder when you do this again.
Right.
It's about putting yourself in a position to push your threshold and staying true to it regardless of outside noise.
And that to speak to outside noise is a good transition. So, in the kids' sports, and I just went through it all. I mean, my kid's now going to be a senior, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty much done with the kids' sports, right? But there's a lot of noise. Like
100%.
these kids have their parents in their ears, and like some of these parents hearts aren't in the right place. Like, what age did you really tap into this mindset? I mean, was this something that you kind of caught on? I mean, obviously, I think you probably had the physical gifts and skills to get to a certain point, but what age did you really tap into the mental?
Yeah, so when I was in 8th grade, I realized I was like, look, like I
8th
really,
grade.
yeah. I was like, I love this sport. I love my parents. They had no clue. Like I applied to a bunch of boarding schools my freshman year behind their back.
Really?
Yeah.
You applied to an $80,000 boarding school? I'm sure they love that.
I got a full ride.
Oh, that's even better.
Millbrook, yeah.
They probably
I mean,
forgave you quick for that.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of how it went down. Like
Right,
they
right.
were pissed at first, and then I kind of showed them the paperwork, and they let me go. And then my sophomore year at Millbrook, I reached out to a bunch of club teams without really any sort of parental assistance or monetary assistance. And like again, I love my parents; they've been extremely supportive. It's just they didn't know. And I reached out to a bunch of these club teams. Most of them were kind of like, look, like we already got it figured out. An Edge, this Canadian club team, was like $50 a day if you can find a way to get here. And so, like, real story, I spent like the last of my money like scraping Powerade tubs at this summer camp. making like $5 an hour. And I spent my money on train tickets from upstate New York to New York City. I walked from Grand Central to Penn Station, took Penn Station to Penn Station, Baltimore. I got picked up by a guy I'd never met before. And for 2 years, this is what I did every weekend. Like, parents loved them to death, thought I was like pissing money. They were like, what are you doing? Like, is this like rec? Like, they thought you like applied to the school and then tried out.
Right.
Like, I love them. But like it's just, some parents are a lot more tapped in on the recruiting piece of all of this. And I think in some way, right, like developing that self-love for the game by myself is almost what helped the most. Like, I think having found a passion for lacrosse and facing off that wasn't like forced on me by anyone else, was just like discovered by myself, I think in a lot of ways is what allowed me to really just be like, wow, like I'm the only one who's going to be responsible for this, and that's beautiful.
Right. What's the advice? That's what I was going to say. What's the advice that you have? Because there'll be a lot of listeners here whose kids are playing lacrosse, especially inevitably they're going to see your name, they're going to know we're talking, they're going to watch. What is your advice to the parents of these younger kids? What is the best thing they can do to harvest, to make it conducive to this, make the environment conducive for these kids to succeed? What would you say now that you're coaching 9-year-olds and you see the sidelines, you're hearing the parents in your ear and all that?
I would say just really instill like them to have a passion for the game, to enjoy it, like go in the backyard, emulate somebody, just play, be creative, and in a way like support them through the process. Don't talk to them about performance from a level of how they look, because on some level, right, parents hate when their kid does bad because who does it reflect poorly upon?
Sure.
Right?
Right.
It makes them feel like shit.
Right.
And I get that. Like, I understand. Like, I don't have kids, but I'm sure when I do, I'll probably care a lot. But it is one of those things where I think about it, and I'm like, the best way to support your kid in this sport and in their growth in this sport would be to give them the outlet to grow their process and let them feel the outcome. Like, don't, do you think like your kid doesn't know? Right. You know what I mean? Like, what help does it do telling a kid who didn't play well, like, you didn't play well? Like, were they not playing?
Right.
Are they not aware? Like,
right.
It's like the best thing you can do is continue to urge your son or daughter to just be process-oriented and enjoy the game. I'm telling you, like, the people who make it the furthest in this game are the people who don't look at it from an orient of discipline, but rather a love. I don't go to the gym 6 days a week. I don't train 6 days a week. I don't face off 6 days a week. I don't run 3, 4, 5 days a week because I have to.
Right.
I do it because I get to. Like, I love the game enough that this is the sacrifice I'm willing to give to it.
Right. So the advice would be is just make sure your kid's loving what he's doing.
100%.
Right. And look, as a parent, it is difficult to do. And I understand this. And I have my wife, we balance each other very well. Like, she's not really caring about results and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know that I care so much either, but like, I'm more like, the balance helps. But we talked about off air. I struggle when Jacob was playing bad. I'd be struggling. I'd have to walk up and down the thing, but like, it would be important to not always show him all that. It would be tough, but it'd be important. But I think that so many parents have no clue about that. You know what I mean? That's what is troubling for me to see. They have no clue. They think that barking at the kid is going to make him better, or wanting something yourself so bad is going to transcend to your kid being at this level. Yeah. Like when Jacob got committed, and I came and I'm back in kind of the local scene with the players, and parents coming up like, oh, you got to help me get my kid committed. You got to help me get. I'm like, how the hell can I help you get your kid committed? Yeah. Right? This kid did this for himself, right? Like, all of this stuff, like, I can try to open some doors wherever I can. I can kind of try to create relationships, but this.
And that's like the irony of all of this, right? It's like so many people, this is not just sports, right? Like, this is life in general. Like, it's really easy to blame a politician or blame a country or blame, I don't know,
a coach,
somebody else, a coach. But all of that, right, is fear-based, because the human condition is to fear this idea, which is inevitably true. And the idea is this: you are responsible for saving yourself. Like, you're a human being, and naturally that's very scary on some level, right? So, like, the immediate knee-jerk reaction is what? Like, I need somebody to save me. But it's like, you got to dig yourself out. It's sports, it's life, it's anything, right? Like, you're the one responsible. Like, as above, so below. Your inputs are going to determine your outputs. How many people do you know that, maybe eat poorly, like don't really exercise, don't really do these things. And then, as a consequence of that, like they complain that it's like, oh, like I'm really upset or I'm struggling. And that's not to like disregard any of those people. Like those problems are extremely valid. But I say this, right? Like it is super, super hard to, push through discomfort, push through these like states of emotionality because they feel very real. When you're in a state of discomfort, whether it be working out or anything, right? Like there's a part of you that in that moment, this is all that's ever existed.
Right.
But I'm telling you, like, as you push through and as you do hard things, the more and more you start to realize, like, wait a sec, like, this was all in my head the whole time. And I look at that and I look at, like, the development of some of the athletes I have and I think about it and it becomes, like, very apparent to me that it really is just, like, all love and fear. It's not love and hate. Like,
All of it is.
There's no hatred. It's really just
Hate
an
is
absence
fear.
of love.
It's the same.
Exactly. And yeah, like if you want to become elite at this sport, like it's practicing and playing with love. And when I say that, I mean like you love this game enough to overcome the obstacle of what others will think about you for it, to overcome the obstacle of like, maybe I put in all this work and it doesn't work out. Like, it's like, look, you got two routes here, right? Option A is you give your absolute best and maybe it doesn't work out. And option B is you don't give your absolute best and
It won't work
definitely doesn't
Right,
work out.
right. That goes to flow state. Let's talk about flow state. Because you're tapping into the principle of love versus fear, which a lot of the great minds and a lot of the gurus, as we say, and they'll come more, the more you tap into this, the more of those people in your life will come around. Like I just had who I call Yoda. She was on a previous episode. I don't know if you watched that one. She was Kristen Bomas. I call her Yoda. She's very big on that. When I started therapy, that was her board. She started the fear and love and literally listed all these emotions, saying it's all this, right? So fear, jealousy, hate, all of that falls under fear, under love. And so she really like hammered that in for years of that. So like you buy into that. And that's why I say sports, you can literally see it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
In flow state. Like you talked to me, I was at I was with Jacob up at a tournament. Me and you hopped on the phone randomly, and you were like talking about, hey, every face-off I've ever won, I knew I was going to win.
Exactly.
And every face-off I ever lost, I knew I was going to lose. Talk to me about flow state. I know flow state. I
100%.
played ball, so I knew like I was a disruptor too on defense. If you guys were scoring a lot, I would do some shit just to piss off. So I would elbow. I would be dirty because I wanted to disrupt.
Absolutely.
I felt the energy, right?
Yeah.
And they even have it in video games, right? In a video game, they have, like I saw when Jacob was playing, I saw they had like a bar for like the energy flow. Like, you got to break that flow. But when you're in flow state, talk about that because you've obviously been in it a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, look, so.
We're in game now. We're talking about when you're competing, right?
I think the coolest thing about kind of getting into that flow state is that you really, really detach from the externality.
Right.
A lot of people have this mindset that greatness is predisposed, and that is such a dangerous mindset to have because the reality is anybody who's ever done anything great was nobody prior to doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's everything in this life that is new or record breaking was not possible before.
Right.
It's a limited belief system to put these other people on a pedestal. And I find that every time I enter these flow states in games, my opponents, the other team, they're all just like obstacles in my present reality. They don't matter. Like, and I don't mean that in a way of but I'm saying like when I'm in that flow state, it's like this person is just in between me and what I have to do in my action.
Right.
I'm not thinking about them. I'm not like, this guy's so good. Like, it's like, no, it's like I've done this a million times. I literally am seeing and visualizing in my head exactly what's about to happen. And then I just do it.
Right.
Getting into a flow state requires you to be keenly present, requires you to love the game. Fear is a future-oriented emotion.
Sure.
It's a fear of what could happen, what could go wrong.
What's next?
What's next?
Right.
But when you're in that flow state, like you are so keenly aware of everything going on around you right now. You've lived
Sniff
it.
the grass. You can hear the ball. You can smell the ball. I've been there. I know it.
You've done it a million times before, and as a result of your work ethic and outworking your self-doubt, you're like, I'm just going to do this again. This person in front of me, it's not like I'm competing with them. I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah,
and they're just in the way of it.
And then when you have the physical, when you've done the process over and over and your physical is there, you know it's there. I think the focus becomes, let me just get in flow state. And you can't force it either, right?
No.
Because if you force it, Now you're in fear. Like, what if I don't get flow state? I need to get it. It's so complex. That's why I think golf is amazing sport, right? Do you golf?
I've tried. Every time
you would like it. It's hard.
Every time I golf, I leave like more angry.
But that's the problem. But golf is technique, right? And I'm not a good golfer by any means, but I enjoy it because it's all mind. Like, there's technique, there's waist, there's how you turn, there's hips, but like, if you can't be in a flow state, you're going to screw that up every time. It's all mental. The more mad you get, the worse it gets. The more mad you get. And the problem, I think, is that trying to, like, when you know the cheat sheet, I call it like the cheat sheet with my kids. I'm like, I'm giving you the answers. Right there, right? But you can't force that answer on someone. Like, you could coach it. And sometimes I'll call you or like Zach and these guys that are coaching. I'm like, listen, help me get him, because it's delivered better from a Tommy than it is a daddy, right?
Even LeBron James Jr., dude, he thinks his dad's a weirdo.
Exactly, that's just the way it is. So like, but go convince, and it sounds corny too, right? If you don't know what we're talking about, a kid, you're like, believe it, right? Just believe it. They're like, okay, Dad, I'll believe it. I'm getting hammered over here. You're telling me to believe it, right? But like, how are you going about instilling that in young kids? And better yet, how are you going about instilling that in teenagers?
Yeah, I mean,
because you have a lot of them, and you have the best of them in Florida coming to you right now, right?
The biggest thing.
Shout out to Face Off Academy, by the way.
FOA Florida.
Greg the Beast, Zach, Tommy, you got a squad, all these guys, Sherrod, all these guys. But go ahead.
Yeah,
a little plug there for you guys.
I would say, like, the biggest thing I talk to them about is, like, there's a difference between thinking and doing. When you're thinking about what it is you're doing, you're going to slow yourself down because you're going to have an inner critic. There's going to be a part of you that's like, you know, deeply frazzled and like, am I doing this process right or perfectly? But, you know, just about every great game I've ever had, I virtually blacked out.
But the teenagers responding to you this? A 17-year-old kid respond, maybe a 17, but a 15-year-old
I tell them this. It's like, look, you have to see it before it happens. And ultimately, there's two realities here. You either believe it and there's a chance it happens, or you don't believe it and it definitely doesn't happen.
I like that.
But I promise you right now, like, you need to believe in the capability of yourself doing this before anyone else, because that is going to be the biggest driver of you doing it. Every great game I've had, I spent weeks, days prior, 10 to 15 minutes at night before the game, walking through every situation, visualizing myself doing what I thought I was capable of at a highest level. And I'm telling you firsthand, I've seen it in real life. I have visualized something that literally happened a week later when I did it. You have to see it happen in your own mind before you're capable of it.
Right.
It's two pieces, right? It's alignment and belief. Plenty of people believe in themselves, right?
Sure.
But the reality is, like, they don't align with that belief. Do you believe in yourself enough to do the things necessary to make that belief a reality?
100%. You got to put yourself in the position for it. Alignment.
Alignment.
Right? And that goes to exactly what you're putting out there. You're putting it out there in your content, and I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it. It's 100%. Like, are you going to eat? You know, are you going to eat the bad food right now? Because that's going to change. It's a joke with Sylvia and I. I'm like, oh, I ate pizza last night. I didn't gain any weight. She's like, you idiot. In 2 weeks, that pizza is going to sit on you, or whatever it is, right? Like, you got to put yourself in the position. Like, people think that, like, success is something, well, he got lucky. Nobody got lucky. Nobody got lucky. I don't believe in that. Even if you did get a little lucky at some point, you were in a position to get lucky, is what I tell them.
It's also, you know, it's an accumulation of time, right? Like, look at people who make it in anything. It's, you know, they're laughed at, they're laughed at, they're laughed at, they're laughed at, bang. And then all of a sudden, what does everybody say? They're like, well, like, you know, they're just like that. It's
overnight.
Overnight. That's what being egoless is. Like, it's like, do you love yourself enough that despite all of these other people who may be critiquing you, like, you know internally that this is going to work out? For me, when I was in 9th grade, when I was like kind of, you know, unconnected with the club space, like wasn't like a highly touted recruit, like I knew, I'm telling you, I knew. There was zero doubt in my mind. And that's what it
incredible.
is. Like, it's a level of self-belief that overrides any outside noise. And I think a lot of that, right, is like, it's choosing to engage in suffering that serves you. There's a duality of this life. Every decision you make is basically dual-pronged. It's you know, greed versus selflessness, like ego versus
love versus fear.
Yeah, love versus fear.
It all traces. That's the Parcells lineage.
Truth versus lies. And
right.
I look at that, right? And so frequently, like, we as human beings have such a selective viewpoint on the plus minus, right? It's like, well, what I want to count will count, and what I don't want to count doesn't matter. but everything counts. You're living in a universe quite literally comprised of positive and negative energy that is perfectly balanced.
Literally.
You know, if you want to get to a level where your life is extremely positive, and it's not just sports, it's anything, like your inputs in the sense of like your decisions on that duality just have to lean to the right side every time.
Right. And I think that what's sad to watch, and it's sad to live this, like when you're young, you respond to this. Like you believe in this. Like kids believe, most of the kids, unless they have traumatic things going on in their lives, obviously there's exceptions, but in a good home, right, where there's not as much trauma, like they full of love. Kids are
100%.
They're born full of love. They're born in the right mindset.
I remember vividly as a kid being around, like extended family, and I remember kind of like seeing them consume certain substances, and I remember, never experiencing that, right? Like, have you ever been in 6th grade prior to experiencing anything? Like, I could use a beer right now.
Right.
Like, you have no clue what that feels like, right?
Right.
And I remember being at such a young age and thinking to myself, like, do we not have, like, everything we need? Like, why would we need anything else?
Right.
You know what I mean? And you grow up and you're basically conditioned in the sense of, like, believing a lot of this stuff is normal, and all of a sudden, just through like repetition and conditioning, you don't even bat an eye at it. You know what I mean? But I really agree with that in the sense that I think that we're all born like just pure and full of love, and I think that you're like a balloon ascending upwards, and these attachments kind of cake on to you.
Or a canvas, like Yodi likes to say, and these people are just adding paint. And I think the teenage years are tough. The toughest because kids can be cruel, parents get a little bit more cruel. And, my best father moment, I think, that I would say that I was most proud of, one of the most proud of, obviously, I'm proud of some things. I'm not proud of some things.
Yeah.
I did my best, right? I do my best. But Jacob was, this is with Jacob. He was maybe, I think, 4 or 5 playing soccer. And he was always athletic and fast and all this. And he just kind of, he's always had the Fogo head, though. He's running this way, running that way, the Fogo head, I call it. And it's just, he gets the ball, he dribbles the ball the wrong way and scores a goal. And he turns to me, and everybody's like, no, they're yelling at him, no. I'm watching, he turns to me, he's so proud and looking to me, right?
Yeah.
And for a split second, I almost said wrong goal. Almost. But my buddy was next to me, and he had eyes at me, and he like kind of almost reminded me, and I was just like, I just ran out on the field and celebrated this goal with this kid, Those moments, like that was one moment where I could have really just pounded the fear on the kid, right? And I didn't. And I can't say that I didn't pound the fear on the kid later. I made mistakes, but I think that if parents could understand that with their kids more, right? At times like that, where you feel like you're projecting your fears on your kid, you're projecting your failures on your kid.
I think it's also important for kids to realize, like, this is your parents' first life too. Right. I deeply grateful to my mom, my stepdad, my dad. Like, they all, did their best raising me, and I'm just like eternally grateful. And I think, as a kid, like, it's really easy to fall into this mindset of like your parents being perfect. You almost have a godlike view of your parents up till the age of like maybe 12.
Sure.
But it's like, it's important to realize like this is your parents' first time living this life as well, and give them some space, like give them some room to make mistakes. Like they're trying their best, and within that, right, like a mindset that I think really helps a lot of the athletes I coach just grow in sports and really in life is like you have to just have this preset belief that the universe has a massive crush on you. You're gonna find evidence for anything you believe.
Sure.
Like if you go in with a belief system where you're thinking like, well, like, life is coming, at me, then naturally, like, you're going to find all the evidence in the world to support that belief system. But if you believe that life is coming from you, that you're the creator of your own reality,
right,
and that, the universe is just this massive river that's guided boats to where they need to go forever,
right,
all of a sudden, like, you stop resisting that flow and you just go with it.
Agreed. It's a great place. Great place to like end our discussion for now.
Let's
I'd love
go.
to have you on.
It was a
First of all,
pleasure.
if you want to let everybody know where to find you, that'd be great. If you have
Yes. Tommy_Burke7 is the Instagram. FOA_Florida is the face-off coaching page. Any support is greatly appreciated. Fired up to be on Two Taps.
Dude, honestly, dude, thank you for having us on. I can't wait to have you on again. We'll have
stoked.
you on. I'll be
I'm
bringing
stoked.
you on. Like,
It was a
dude,
great session,
when you're
dude.
putting out that energy, That's the energy I want on this show.
go.
You know what I mean? So I'll be having you back. So
love
yeah,
it.
please check him out, Tommy Burke. Any of you guys, anybody needs coaching in lacrosse, he's the guy. He's around. You know, he's accessible. He's a great guy. I trust him with my kids, and I know a lot of people that do, and I consider him a friend. And thank you for coming on, my
Thank
friend.
you for having me.
Of course, and I'll have you again. It's
Let's
a
go.
pleasure.
I'm stoked.
It's always a fun conversation with you. We could keep going forever.
Forever.
Yeah, exactly.
That flew by.
Yeah, but to all the Two Taps, all my viewers and listeners, thank you for listening to Two Taps and Friends. We love you. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Like I've been saying, when you like and subscribe to the channel, it gives juice and power to the channel and gets us more outreach, gets us more, it helps with everything. So we really appreciate you. We love you all. We appreciate the viewership. Also, there's a link at the bottom if you want to get Two Taps and Friends swag. Apparently that's available too. All kinds of cool stuff there. Follow us, like and subscribe to us. We're on YouTube, YouTube Music, Instagram. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. We love you all. We'll see you soon. Thank you all. Goodbye. Cut.